What if you had the opportunity to gather some of the most amazing animal activists in the world? Individuals who are working to improve the lives of animals, individuals who are doing their best to create a more compassionate society. What would you talk about? What kind of subjects would you like to explore? What message would you want to deliver to these individuals in hopes that it might inspire them to take action for animals? That's the question I want you guys to think about. And in the meantime, I'm excited to welcome two very special guests to today's episode of the Street Dog Podcast. First, we have Kathy Duncan, Humane Canada's Director of Programs. Kathy brings a wealth of experience and passion for advancing animal welfare across the country. Alongside her, we have Natalia Hanson, a consultant for marketing and communications at Humane Canada's Summit for Animals, and just one of my favorite people. Natalia plays a key role in, and I'm sure, Kathy, you will become one of my favorite people after this conversation. Love you both. Natalia plays a key role in shaping the summit's outreach and engagement efforts. And both Kathy and Natalia are going to share some exciting details about the upcoming 2025 Summit for Animals and the call for speakers, which is currently now open. And for those who are not familiar with the summit, it is an incredible experience. Each year, the summit in Canada brings together hundreds of advocates, professionals, and volunteers to challenge perceptions, learn about different innovations in the field, and make valuable professional connections to advance each individual's animal welfare journey. So it's so great to have you both. I hope that was a proper introduction. Hopefully, I didn't misspeak. Let me know if I did.
You did fantastic. You did amazing. Thank you for that intro.
Yes, yes, Kathy, Natalia. And I should also say, for those of you who don't know, we have had Natalia on the podcast before.
Oh,
And at the time, we spoke with two other incredible individuals who were speakers at the summit. And it was a really great episode. So please go back, guys, listen to the other episodes we have with individuals from Humane Canada's Summit for Animals. It was a really exciting episode. And I'm excited to kind of dive in again today. So, Natalia, tell us a bit about the 2025 Summit for Animals. What can attendees expect from the event, which is in Montreal this year? Is that right?
that is right. So it's going to take place in Montreal, Quebec, April 27th, 28th, and 29th. Montreal, in and of itself, is a fantastic city. It is vibrant, it's rich in history, in culture, it's got restaurants, museums, you name it. So, right there and then, that is a big attractive to come to the conference. And then what can people expect? So first of all, this is the largest conference of its kind in Canada. It brings together hundreds, as you said it before, Daria, of animal welfare professionals, advocates, volunteers. So no matter where you are in your journey, you are welcome to come. We usually see people from humane societies, from shelters, SPCAs, rescuing TNR groups. We see fundraisers, we see marketers, we see people who work in grants, we see people in the veterinary field. There's a wide variety. So if you are involved in any way, shape, or form in animal welfare and you want to expand your knowledge, if you want to hear from great thought leaders and you want to connect in over 50 sessions that we're planning to curate over 3 days, please come to the conference. On top of that, we also always put together really fun activities. So in the past, we've done things like hikes in nature. We've done stretches like yoga with puppies, with kittens.
Ah,
We've done mindful breaks. So we like to really make this a wholesome experience for our attendees. And obviously, one of the most important things is the networking aspect. That is usually the top rated reason why people attend our conference year
wow.
after year is being able to connect with others and being able to have conversations outside of the session rooms while you're having lunch, while you're waiting in line to go to the bathroom, while you're grabbing coffee. That's really meaningful.
That's so cool. I appreciate this like approach you're taking to education. Because I think so often when individuals go to these conferences, there is that like pressure to attend every session, to go to every meeting, and this exciting opportunity starts to feel really heavy. So I appreciate you anticipating that and offering opportunities for nature walks, for mindfulness sessions, for yoga sessions, because then I think it takes the weight and the pressure off of attendees, and it gives them this opportunity to engage with one another in ways that they don't usually get to engage with others at other conferences. Like at other animal conferences I've been to, that's just not a thing. It's very much go, 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 push, 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 push. So the opportunity to slow down sounds amazing. And did you say 50 different sessions?
Yes, we're planning on curating approximately 50 sessions over 3 days. We're going to have a
Oh,
bunch of educational topics, which Kathy is going to talk about more, but there's going to be a lot to learn. So people bring an empty notebook and a working pen because there's going to be a lot of notes.
oh, that's so cool. Thank you, Natalia. Kathy, lay it on us. We want to hear more about these topics. Even in the introduction that I gave at the top of this podcast, it seems like there are so many different avenues for people to explore at this conference and ways to not only connect with one another and expand their circle and their community, but also it sounds like there are ways for individuals to deepen their connection with themselves as well, which sounds really cool. um what can we expect? What kind of topics?
Wow. Well, first, let me say thank you for having us today. And I would just note that while the Street Dogs Coalition is national, being US, today you're international. Woohoo!
Jet set life. Look at that.
That's right.
International without even leaving New Jersey. I love this for me.
So we're increasing the attendance of folks from all across the globe at this event. And it is a challenge though, Daria. Just the events team, Natalia and her colleagues do a phenomenal job of trying to balance everything.
Right.
It's tough to have all of the things that we would love to have in the time frame that we do have, but they do a fantastic job of that. So to your point, yes, they do add in specific networking opportunities, which in my world are one of the most important pieces of any event such as this. And we get so many incredible abstracts. I would encourage anybody out there to please submit. We don't always have the time to run all of the sessions that we would like to. But that's the way it goes, right? The reality of all our lives is that we're very busy. People can't afford to take a huge amount of time away from their organizations typically, especially because so many of the people that attend are coming from not-for-profits. And so it can be a challenge, but we've got something for everybody, I like to think. So we certainly have things, one of our sessions is specifically entitled public engagement, and it's made up of 3 different areas. So marketing, advocacy, and fund development, you'll find within that particular session. We also have an entire day on farmed and wild animal welfare, which is a challenge to build in from the standpoint that, we routinely get information in our post-session surveys that ask for information on farmed animal welfare and wild animal welfare, but it can be a challenge to find people who can speak to it. We've got a big theme this year on community engagement. So we're doing proactive solutions for use in community engagement, as well as innovative ideas for use in community engagement. We also have tracks specific to leaders, so leading through challenge and opportunity. And then near and dear to my heart as the director of programs at Humane Canada, we've got a full day session that is going to be based on one of our current projects, which is referred to as promising practices through humane education. So we're going to try to highlight the benefits that people can have in their communities, specifically through the use of humane education.
What? This is okay, guys. I am not, this is like a genuine reaction. Part of me doesn't want to act so surprised and excited because as the host of this podcast episode, I should have known all that, right? I should have done my research. But you got to be kidding me. This is so cool. This is so cool. You have wildlife, you have farmed animals. Also, I love that you say farmed animals and not farm animals. Love that distinction as a vegan animal rights activist myself. I will also say that I am wearing a shirt that I thought was inappropriate for the pod, but I will show it to you anyway. It says badass vegan cat mom.
I love that.
Thank you. I was like, is badass a little risky for a work related podcast? Anyway, I am so I digress. I'm so
Yeah.
excited because what it sounds like here is you are touching on all different kinds of animal welfare, all different needs from all different species. And that's really unique. So often I find that these conferences are really geared toward either companion animals or farmed animals or, wildlife and nature conservation. So to know that someone who has multiple interests with all different kinds of species can go somewhere and learn a lot, I think is incredible. But also, it's a great opportunity for people who might only be familiar with working on companion animal advocacy to dip a toe into wildlife advocacy, or individuals who are, badass vegan cat moms like me, to learn a little bit more about wildlife and how we can protect wildlife, and even the implications that protecting wildlife has on, vegan animal advocacy, farmed animal advocacy. So I am like, I'm kind of fangirling with excitement over here. I'm glad you're seeing my genuine reaction to how cool this all sounds. So tell us, why is this sounds like a silly question as I just totally freaked out with excitement. But for people who aren't me, who are curious as to why this might be, why it might be critical for them to attend, what the implications of their attendance are. Can you share with us why is it important for leaders, aspiring leaders, emerging individuals in this field to attend this summit? Why should people go?
Absolutely. And thanks so much, Daria, for your level of excitement, because we share that, honestly.
Yay!
Like when we're planning this, it is mind-blowing
Yeah.
to see the potential. And as I said earlier, the only challenge is we can't pick all of
Yeah.
them. That being said, I just want to say that you really very interestingly outlined a pillar of Humane Canada's new strategic plan, and that is One Health and One Welfare. So when we talk about the need to incorporate the welfare of wildlife, the need to incorporate the welfare of farmed animals as well as companion animals, we also need to, and that's why we have such a focus on community engagement, we need to keep in mind, and animal welfare, as I'm sure you're aware, hasn't been great at this in the past,
Mhm.
that there's another end to the commitment, and that is us. So we need to keep in mind human well-being and the human animal bond, clearly, but also climate.
Yes.
And so when we talk about wild animal welfare, I was just on a call with our CEO yesterday. We're talking about emergency preparedness and planning, and we're reminding our partners that part of that is that they need to ensure that they keep in mind the welfare of wildlife species. So I know that you have significant wildfires which happen in the US. We've just had some horrible ones out west in Alberta. And our CEO reminded our partners that a few years back in Australia, one of the biggest significant impacts of their wildfires was the damage that was caused to the local wildlife species.
Mm.
So it is important. And in answer to your question, what I would say is the only way we can know about all these great programs that everybody's doing all over the country or beyond is through those folks who submit an abstract to speak at the summit and want to highlight those programs that they're doing in their local community in the most cases. But sometimes these are just complete paradigm shifter programs. And we
Mm.
need to know about that. And the only way anybody's going to know about it is if you come to speak at Humane Canada Summit for Animals, if you're in Canada. I know the US has some other spots that they might want people to speak at, but come to Humane Canada too, because we're a little bit smaller than some of those big conferences in the US. And so, you'll have an opportunity to actually speak to most of the people in your session.
I love that, and I will say from having visited Canada a couple times at this point, everything's better in Canada. I mean, they say everything's bigger in Texas, and I will say everything's better in Canada. And I'm not just talking about, medical health coverage. I really mean it. The experiences that I've had in Canada have been so unique. The individuals I've met there, both animal advocates and just individuals I engage with, through my travels there, they've all been, and I know this sounds like a ridiculous blanket statement that you couldn't possibly make about a country, but I'm going to make it anyway. Everyone I've engaged with in Canada, um, especially Vancouver is where I've spent the most amount of time, has been so delightful, so supportive, and honestly, just very progressive in their thoughts and in their views, and in their ability and willingness to collaborate with one another. So I really appreciate this invitation to our supporters, especially because our supporters they really do see the value of taking this one health approach. Obviously, everyone at the Street Dog Coalition, we're all about both ends of the leash. We're all about helping the pet in need, and also helping the individual who is taking care of that animal. And all of that is for the purpose of creating a healthier, stronger, more sustainable environment for us to all live in. So I really appreciate this holistic, well-rounded approach, because oftentimes if we don't give individuals the opportunity to connect with one another, to share, to amplify their voice, to share their programs and their perspectives, um, it becomes impossible to find partners that allow us to alleviate some of our efforts, that allow us to expand our reach and our impact. So I'm really, really excited about this. And Natalia, maybe you can share with us some success stories or maybe some notable presentations from past summits that had a significant impact on animal welfare. I know there might be some people who are thinking like, oh, I have this program I'm working on, or oh, I feel like I'm the expert in this field, but is it worth talking about? So is there oh, yes, it is. I love that, Kathy. So an example you can share with us, Natalia, of a success story, from a past summit of a notable presentation?
For sure. I have many, so I had to condense it and think through because trust me, there are many. And we know this because people tell us in the post-conference survey months later, even years later. And by the way, before I go into that, I want to say this conference is for everybody. Of course, our majority of attendees are from within Canada, but our friends in the United States, please come up to Montreal. It's in your benefit because of the exchange rate. So you're in a
Yes!
good position in the States. We
You
even
told
have
me
people
that
come
via
from,
email.
yes,
I got
yes,
excited. I got excited.
exactly. So think about that. Think about that. Consider it. And then we've had people from Australia as well. We've had people from the UK. So everybody is welcome. So back to some success stories. We were just chatting. Kathy was just talking about the wildfires that were happening in Alberta. And natural disasters are not new to Canada or the world, really. And one of the best examples that I can think of, we had the conference in Calgary, Alberta in 2018. And one of our colleagues from the Fredericton SPCA, which is on the other side of the country, on the East Coast, was networking during breaks and met representatives from Royal Canin and from PetSmart Charities of Canada, exchanged cards, what have you. That's it. Went back home to Fredericton, and they had some of the worst floodings that they had had in their history. That was in the spring of 2019. So she tapped into those contacts, reached out, and they helped them. So Royal Canin sent in donations of food for the animals that were affected. PetSmart Charities of Canada contributed with a financial grant. And that meant a lot to us because that was a relationship that was born at the Summit for Animals. So it's incredible how, without actually being a part of it, we were kind of a part of it.
Wow.
There's also a beautiful testimonial that I wrote down here from one of our attendees at the 2023 conference, so last year. And we reached out to her a couple months later and we said, hey, how's it going? Because we really want to measure the impact month later. It's not just what happens the day of the sessions and the conferences, what happens when you get home, what happens 6 months later, what happens a year after. How have you been able to use this knowledge, tap into these connections for your own benefit and to really advance animal welfare? And she said, the conference has helped me with being able to properly use the 5 domains of animal welfare language, to have our law enforcement agencies take my inquiries seriously and to have them look into situations. Many backyard breeding facilities, abandoned animals, and animals living in abusive situations have been helped from the BC Beaver sessions. Next year is going to be called the Learning Labs, but it's basically a pre-conference day that goes more in depth into certain topics. It's more like workshop style. And in 2023 was called BC Beaver. She said, we also implemented a food program into our shelter since the conference, and the animals in our shelter being on regular diets instead of varying donated food has helped them tremendously, as some of the animals in our care are with us for a year or more. It also helped us feed many TNR cats and dogs living in poverty and around our community, as the donated food we use in that way instead of with our shelter animals. Some sessions from the conference also taught us how to build more bridges between people in our community, teaching us how to properly communicate with people and educate them on different options they have with their pets instead of dropping them off on our doorsteps. Home to home is definitely something we're trying to promote more. So that means a lot to us when we get those kind of testimonials, because it shows you with clear, tangible examples how they are using the knowledge, the insights that they gain at the conference to improve their programs or to create new programs to reach out to their communities to help more animals.
Wow. Okay, that is huge. I think so often we leave these conferences with some business cards,
Yeah.
some maybe a renewed interest in our field, a feel good feeling inside of us, and hope for what might unfold after the conference ends. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of time, at least in my experience, not a lot comes from those experiences at conferences. And I mean that in as humbly as possible. It is not to discredit any conference, but it sounds like what you have created is this formula for success where people don't just leave with, business cards and a feel good feeling. They actually have new connections and resources and like laser focus as to how they can improve the lives of animals who are in their care, how they can advocate for these animals in a way that kind of extends beyond what they would have even imagined getting out of this experience. So that's all you can hope for when you plan a conference, when you attend a conference, is that people will take the connections that they've made and directly improve the lives of animals who are in their care, or improve their ability to advocate on behalf of those animals. And that's like all I'm hearing from those testimonials.
Exactly. And
Wow.
just to add something else to that, so this year we had the CEO of the Australian Animal Protection Society. She came all the way from Australia to Halifax to our conference. And I reached out to her about 2 months later. Hey, how's it going? Give me a testimonial. How are you feeling afterwards? And she shared with me that she has hired one of our sponsors from a fundraising consulting business. And she
Oh,
also delivered a session on fundraising. So they connected that way. And now Megan in Australia is hiring Catherine from Canada, who actually lives in Mexico, to lead their fundraising strategy or redo it. And I thought, that's amazing. That's exactly what we want to do. See, we build connections.
y'all are getting things done in Canada.
Yes, yes.
It's like, it's so easy for me to, every time I speak to my friends up north in Canada, for me to totally uplift Canada and totally degrade the United States. And I'm really trying to not do that in this conversation. But like, you guys just get stuff done. I think, it's a testament to everyone who comes to the conference's ability to speak, but to also listen and to also be present and to be in the room and to think beyond the agenda that they might have arrived at the conference with, right? So that is, you guys are great. United States is great too. You guys are also great. Everyone's great. Is I'm just biting my tongue right now. Um, so my final question should come as no surprise. What advice? So let's pretend someone is listening to this. Maybe they're in Canada, maybe they're in the United States. And I want to tell our listeners who are listening to this, I will include, I know Natalia, you dropped the link in our Facebook live chat. I'm going to include that link as well in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about this opportunity, please check out the link in the show notes. But let's say someone is scrolling through the link, they're kind of on the fence, they're not totally sure if they're ready to speak, they're not sure if their topic is like of value or of relevance to other organizations. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in submitting a proposal to speak at the summit, but they're kind of maybe nervous about taking the leap?
Don't delay. The deadline to submit is September 30th. Don't fall victim to imposter syndrome, because we want you all. Last year, well, this year in May, I think of it as last year because we're well into planning for next year. We had, of note, a PhD candidate. So not someone with as much advanced animal welfare experience as myself, but someone who's new to the whole thing, and they presented at the summit. So we're open, as Natalia said, we're open to anybody and everybody. And Daria, we love our friends in the US. I am an
Yes.
international ambassador to the Human Animal Support Services
Oh,
project.
wow.
And so, yes, you guys, in some cases, have been doing things before the Canadians. So if you're some of those folks that are working on stuff, doesn't matter where you're doing it at, if it's a best practice, if it's a right thing people should be doing, we need you.
Yeah.
You know, we're no different to a large degree than our partners to the south, in that sometimes it can be hard to convince us to move past the way things have always been done, to embrace new ways of doing. Come, speak at the summit. Tell folks about the wonderful things that you are doing in your small community. We want to know about it. And if you don't submit, you're definitely not going to get chosen to speak, are you? Like, let's just be real.
Such great advice. Like,
So,
yeah.
I'll be totally transparent. I'm not the only person on the programming committee. There are others. So while I might want everybody, the programming committee's job is to, unfortunately, have to pick and choose so that we can fit all of the submissions. We typically have over 100, and as Natalia started out with, we're only going to be able to have 50 sessions, so y'all aren't going to make it this go round.
Yeah.
However, doesn't mean we don't love you anyways. So send in your submission. We want to read it. We want an opportunity to weigh it against all the other submissions. And you never know. The other piece to it is that if you are chosen as a speaker, you do get a huge bonus, because you get a lay-in to the conference. So your registration will be covered.
Oh,
So
great.
there is benefit. I mean, we can't afford, unfortunately, to pay all the speakers, but we can do that. And, so that means that you have the benefit of being there, of going to the other sessions, of hearing what other people are talking about, of networking with all the people. And it's not just the folks that are there in attendance at the sessions. We have exhibitors. As Natalia said, you might connect with someone who works in a for-profit company that is sponsoring or exhibiting at the summit, and they could be a connection for you and your organization going forward, as our friends in Fredericton experienced a couple of years back. So get in there and get your submission in.
I
Yes.
love that. I think it's the imposter syndrome can be really real for a lot of individuals, especially in our field, because yeah, exactly, Natalia. Especially because, a lot of us somehow made like one right turn and one left turn in life, and then like here we are taking care of animals, advocating on behalf of animals. I think a lot of times people fall into this line of work. So it's very easy to stay in your comfort zone of having imposter syndrome. I'm also just speaking from myself, as a development director with a degree in theater. Sometimes I just have I have this moment where I'm like, I don't know anything. But there's nothing more relatable than that feeling. And I want to encourage everyone who is listening to feel the fear of submitting, allow that fear to exist, and submit anyway, right? You like if we're waiting for opportunities for us to where we feel less fearful or where we feel more confident, those opportunities, I think, only come when we put ourselves out there in this way, when we step outside of our comfort zone. Not to turn this into like a life coaching session, but I'm also speaking to myself. Half the time when I'm speaking on this podcast, I just should have like a mirror right here. Because I really, this is a message that I can't hear enough, and that I feel like our audience can't hear enough. Really, growth as an activist or as an advocate comes from getting uncomfortable, comes from feeling a little out of your comfort zone, feeling a little stretchy, feeling a little intimidated, and knowing that you have an important message. You have a set of life experiences and professional experiences that no one else in the world has but you, and committing to yourself and to the animals that you work so hard to protect, to raise your voice and share that message. So I love everything that you said, Kathy, Natalia. Your insights on this episode have been incredible. And I'm going to share both the link to learn more about the summit in the show notes. And also, I see right here the direct link to submit a presentation proposal as well. So y'all can't say you don't have the links, because now you do. And if anyone has any questions, I encourage them to reach out to us, and we'll put you in contact with Natalia or Kathy. Reach out directly to Kathy as well. I know on your website there are so many different ways to reach out with questions and for support. And Kathy, Natalia, thank you so much for this hilarious, invigorating, inspiring, exciting conversation. Natalia, never a dull moment when you're around. You're just so lovely. Natalia, what is this nail color? What do you got going on over there? What is that? Is it
Oh, I
like
want
a
you to know that this glows in the dark.
oh Natalia, you're
By the way,
so
these
cool.
are my real nails. I'm very proud of them. This is my real legs. I am
Yes.
very vain with my nails. I don't really care much about like my makeup or my hair. No, it's my nails. My nails
The
are my things.
nails. Oh, man, I am here for the nail show. Good for you. Oh my gosh. Okay. I need to. Anyway,
I know,
I
we're not
digress.
even looking at mine, Daria.
You guys are,
Maybe that's something we need to offer at the conference, like some
could you
manicures or something.
Well,
imagine?
I get my nails done when I can, but honestly, the shellac, which is the only thing that stands up, doesn't love my nails. So no polish on my fingers, but I got polish on my
But
toes.
they look good.
Okay,
They
that's
still
good.
they still look good and
You
polished on the
can't see
toes.
them on Zoom, but thank you. And I
You
will just say this, if I might. Thank you very much, Daria, for inviting everybody to submit. We would love to have them. And if they're unsure, if they're unclear, I want them to reach out to me.
yeah.
Send me an email.
Mhm.
It's pretty tough, Kathy, Kathy, at humanecanada.ca, because we're in Canada, don't you know? And I have a feeling my good friend Natalia over there is busy typing away, so it should come up. I can't tell. Yeah, okay.
Just did
Daria
it.
says,
Yeah.
yep, it's there. Thank you, Natalia. Yeah, and I'm happy to chat with anybody who's thinking about it and is kind of sort of on the fence and isn't sure what to do. And I'll just push you right over the edge, just saying. So if you're ready for that, reach out. Happy to
Awesome.
chat.
Awesome. Kathy, thank you so, so, so much. Natalia, this has been so much fun. I need to come to Canada. That's it. It's
You
You
need
better
decided.
see you
to.
in Montreal.
I'm hoping to be there. Seriously. This sounds like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Kathy, Natalia, I want to thank you again so much for taking time out of your clearly very busy lives to come on this podcast and share a bit of inspiration and motivation to the individuals who listen to this podcast. And I want to thank the individuals who listen to this podcast. You guys are such incredible advocates for animals. You make the world a more compassionate place. And this is like, a dream come true to be able to have these conversations. So I hope you both take care. I hope to see you in Canada. And Natalia, I know you're going to reach out to me with another podcast episode
Of
idea.
course.
I
Totally.
hope you do, because they're always so much fun. And in the meantime, ladies, I will catch you on the flip side. And thank you again so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for the invite. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Adios.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.